Hello everyone, welcome to our social phenomena assignment slides. We are presenting on impression management. The title of this video which we will be presenting is Hero Serial Killer. My group members are Joanne, Ossie and myself Radhika. Let me give you an introduction to the video. We have chosen the video regarding a German male nurse who injected patients with drugs that can cause heart failure or circulatory collapse. He then tried to revive them, and when they survive, he becomes the hero. When they do not survive, he felt devastated. He started doing this out of boredom and had killed more than 100 people when he was discovered by a patient who saw him administering the drug. This is the link to the video. Let us watch the video before proceeding.
In northern Germany, a male nurse who was on trial for killing 3 people has now admitted to killing as many as 30. Experts now looking at the record think he may have killed anywhere between 60 and 100 people. This was a nurse in a Delmenhorst hospital near Bremen, Germany. And what would happen was he would administer a cardiac drug that would bring patients to cardiac arrest, and then he would have to resuscitate them so that he could be seen as some sort of hero for resuscitating the patient. Oftentimes he failed. Many times he succeeded. But he was originally observed doing this and brought to trial. And while on trial, he is now admitted to a psychiatrist that he's done this at least 30 times. And it's questionable whether or not that information can be used as evidence in court. While this trial has been going on since September, they're now looking back at records, and he may have been involved in as many as 178 deaths.
Wow.
It was some sort of a psychological need for praise, where he wanted to get the praise of the families and the patient and his co-workers for saving the lives of people, but in doing so he actually killed many people.
Unbelievable.
And this is between the years 2003 and 2005. So this happened numerous times. So
in a relatively short period of time.
and statistically, nobody noticed that this was happening a lot while he was on duty.
Which is strange, that every time he's on duty, he's one of these patients, someone goes into cardiac arrest and needs to be resuscitated.
The drug that he was using was being consumed in a scale that was unusual, and nobody noticed that. These people were going into cardiac arrest while he was on duty. He was involved in a lot of resuscitations. He was involved in a lot of people dying of cardiac arrest, and it took one person observing him administering the drug for him to have charges brought against him. The former head of heart surgery at this hospital, Otto Dupont, said this: "I found it strange that he was always on hand when patients were being resuscitated, often helping younger doctors with intubation, inserting a breathing tube into a patient's airways. He was also often unusually moved by the deaths of his patients. On one occasion, he was completely distraught state, but he was actually competent, perhaps more competent than others. He would always insist on taking the bodies to the morgue when they died." It's unusual that it took this long for him to be caught. This could turn into being one of the most prolific serial killers ever. If it turns out, they're looking at 178 cases, many of which, if the bodies haven't been cremated, they're having to exhume the bodies to find out how many cases can be brought against him. He admitted to his psychiatrist at least 30 deaths, and it's uncertain whether that admission can be used against him in court right now. But it's being made publicly available. Wow! It was a drug that created a cardiac arrhythmia that when people overdose from it, and that was his method. It's astounding that this wasn't discovered earlier. family members of those who died obviously
Oh, God.
are having a big problem with
And
this.
I imagine the hospital's now open to all
Oh,
sorts
sure.
of litigation,
Sure.
negligence, etc.
Yeah, so this is an ongoing trial. It remains to be seen how many cases of murder will be brought against this nurse, but holy heck. This is in Lower Saxony. The case goes on. We'll keep you updated. As always, thanks for watching the Lip News.
This is Niall, the male nurse who committed the murder. The phenomenon of Niall murdering to become a hero is called impression management in social psychology. Let me explain on impression management. The attempt by people to get others to see as they want to be seen is known as impression management. The theory goes on to explain that we try to make the perception consistent with our goals and the effort to control or influence other people's perceptions. This is what happened in Niall's case. He tried to impress his medical. Researchers Greenwald and Breckler describe several phenomena that reflect people's interest in maintaining desired private identities through self-serving attributions. However, Larry and Kowalski say that self-presentation to the individual involves cognitive processes only, whereas public self-presentation always involves overtly behavior. Next, let us look at what is the cause of impression management. Impression management may be used to increase subjective well-being in three interrelated yet distinct ways. Number one, by maximizing one's reward-cost ratio in social relations. Number two, by enhancing one's self-esteem. Number three, by facilitating the development of desired identity. Now let me explain the three interrelated ways in detail. The first one, social and material outcomes. Niall's application to another hospital was approved because of solid recommendations from his employer. Thus, conveying the right impression could obtain desired outcomes, especially when it involves interpersonal outcomes. For example, approval, friendship, assistance, power, and competency. Number two is self-esteem maintenance. Others' reaction to the individual may raise or lower self-esteem. Niall probably was looking for compliments, praise, and indications of people liking him to enhance his self-esteem. He expected positive feedback from others for saving patients. Number three, development of identity. People also engage in self-presentation as a means of creating their own identities. People sometimes self-symbolize by engaging in public behaviors that indicate the possession of identity-relevant characteristics which they want to project. Niall put patient's life at risk so that he can become a hero. Our conclusion is, in this case, the phenomenon impression management has created a fatal consequence. His intention was to impress, but it has become an obsession, causing him to become a psychopath. Therefore, we can conclude that impression management has positive as well as negative consequences.